Narcissists enjoy showing up for special occasions, or any good occasion for that matter, just to bring the mood down, just to take people down. Once you've been in the orbit of a narcissist for a while, it can be romantic relationships, but can be other settings too. Gradually, you find that your mood tends to steadily decrease. You steadily start to feel more drained, lower in energy, more pessimistic, feeling more negative. And that's because narcissists have a clever way of devaluing you on a steady basis, and they have a natural way of just sucking your energy dry. So if you're around them too long, you you kind of feel that everything somehow is about them. When you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have empathy, any interaction, even interactions which on the surface seem normal, you feel that something goes missing. And when you're around somebody like that too long on an ongoing basis, especially if you don't have breaks, maybe you live with the person, whatnot, then you find that your mood just starts getting very low. And then oftentimes you reach that point where you have nothing further to offer the narcissist, so they depart. If they're your partner, they might discard you or just disappear. Or if it's maybe a family member or somebody else, they might just refocus on somebody else because you're all of a sudden not that interesting. Your supply isn't that potent. But once you've been away from them for a while, and sometimes it starts as soon as just a couple of days after you've detached from them, sometimes you feel your mood starting to steadily increase. You feel that you start to regain control of your emotions. Sometimes you find that the fact that the black hole, which is the narcissist's existence, around you, the fact that your energy is not getting lost into them anymore, it means there's more for yourself. As soon as you start to feel more uplifted and recenter yourself, narcissists tend to make a reappearance. They have a funny way of knowing when you're fully energized again, when you're optimistic again, when you're eager again, because then they want to make a reappearance into your life. It may start with a phone call, a message to meet up. They pass by your place for a chat, whatever. And all of a sudden you feel that your mood drops again. You start going into this negative space again. And it's just the way narcissists operate. They go from person to person looking for people who are in that great space, and they try to get the people to funnel their attention, their energy, their wherewithal towards the narcissist, so the narcissist sustains themselves through the other person. But then, of course, the other person quickly feels drained. But that's the thing. Narcissists have a funny way of knowing when you're starting to feel better, knowing when, in their eyes, you have more supply to offer. It's almost like they have the sixth sense, where the moment you've recentered yourself, the moment you're grounded again, the moment you're thinking clearly again, the moment maybe you're feeling happy again, they have this way of just making a reappearance at those opportune times. So some would say, you can look at it in so many different ways. Some would even go so far to say as, because they need supply from certain people to survive, that they've tapped into certain senses that most of us haven't tapped into, which is to be switched on when people have more supply to offer them, and they kind of approach the people at those opportune moments. But it's almost like they have this psychic connection to you. And I'd say it's probably not very far off from that. But they have a way of being reattracted to you right when you're doing well, and then they go back into your space just to take you down. Obviously, if it's like a romantic relationship, you know, you can have like the trauma bond, and you might try to detach from them. It might take you a long time to recover, and then when you finally recover, which can take sometimes many months later, even years, that they make a reappearance. But in settings where the relationship isn't so intense, it could be like a sibling or a parent, cousin, old friend, where you might find them draining, but you might recover from from your interactions with them after just a couple of days. Then they might kind of make that reappearance after a few days. It really comes down to whenever you're feeling better about yourself. So it's there's two things to think about when it comes to recentering yourself, because when you're trying to distance yourself from toxic people, when you focus your energy back into yourself, you focus it back into your core, you enter into that space where you have almost this limitless belief about things, that can work out for you, that kind of optimistic mindset. So that's a great space to be, because that's where you've gathered you you've gathered yourself back together again. You become independent of the other person, and you're kind of setting things into motion. But at the same time, it's almost like the narcissist can sense that, and then they come back. And sometimes they visualize it. If they're around you, they can see you, and they pick up on it very, very quickly. But sometimes it's, even though they don't see you and they're not talking to flying monkeys about you, sometimes they still kind of sense that. So that's just something to be wary of. Um, because when you're away from toxic people and you've been drained by them, you do want to recenter yourself, reground yourself, maybe do a bit of meditation, maybe a bit of mindless walking in the parks, and all of a sudden start refocusing on things that are important to you, your well-being, your physical, mental health, your finances, your career, your personal relationships, all that. And then, but just be wary, because when you hit your sweet spot, that's when these toxic people tend to reappear. And the only way you can kind of keep yourself in a good place is boundaries. If they reach out to you, maybe don't respond to them. And if they insist to meet up or something, yeah, you can just not respond, or maybe make an excuse, or maybe meet up, but only if you feel that you can do so in a way where you can stay collected and you're not really at risk of them taking you down. But if it's like an ex-romantic partner, then obviously it's probably best to stay no contact. But sometimes you have people who are high in narcissistic traits, maybe in your family or something, in which case you still feel you have to meet up with them a little bit here and there, but just kind of keep it light touch. But yeah, once for your own well-being, once you're away from these people, recenter yourself, refocus yourself back into your core. Bring your energy back into yourself. And all of a sudden you kind of feel that good place, and then just kind of, once you have that, focus outwards into the things that matter to you. But when the narcissist reappears, just ignore them.